this time. You disagree that you can be sexist towards men. Hey guys, quiet back there, please.
I don't think it's okay to be sexist towards men or women.
Oh, no. Perhaps...
is it a possibility? Yeah, people can. Do I think it's okay? No.
Okay.
Yeah.
We were having a rough time with these questions.
Mm-hmm. I guess I
it's more so like you can be sexist towards, like, as in some people, for example, say because men are privileged, you can't be sexist towards them because, like, they're part of the oppressor class.
I disagree.
So you agree that you can be sexist towards men?
Yeah.
Okay, then that was okay. Never mind.
I don't think it's okay to do. That's what I meant.
All right. Let's see. Allie, you disagree that there is no gender wage gap.
Yeah, I had to think about that, like the double negative thing.
Yeah.
That I think that there is a gender wage gap.
Yeah,
that's
you
just
think there is a gender wage gap. Jay, you also think that there is a gender wage gap?
I thought it was pretty well known that there was in a lot of industries.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that, question for you two then, do you guys think that WNBA players should be paid the same as NBA players?
I don't follow any of that, but I mean, I guess, sure.
Okay.
Unless you have facts
it looks
to
like you
tell
agree.
me no.
Do you think the...
I think they should be paid the same, but I think it does come down to like who is getting the most views, interaction, brand deals, all of those different things. And I think that's the same when it comes to the jobs that men and women are traditionally doing. I think it's definitely changing, but I mean, throughout history, like women were traditionally in the home, so obviously they weren't making any money. But I think that when it comes to being in industry, men just happen to be in more high-paying jobs just with how the world is. So right. I don't think that it's necessarily having to do with gender, and more so with what jobs
I was just more focused on the I was more just focused on the WNBA thing. So you said that the WNBA players should be paid the same as the NBA players.
Yeah, I do think so.
But you also said, well, it depends on how much money they bring in, right?
Yeah, like I mean, in a perfect world, I think they should be paid the same. I think that the circumstances make it so that they
right,
aren't.
but in a perfect world, there shouldn't be war, and everyone should be pretty, and nobody could be fat, and blah blah blah. Like, but I'm asking this question like as the world currently is. So like, it's kind of pointless to be like, oh, in a perfect world, the world's never going to be perfect.
I like don't think that it's situationally possible for them to be paid the same right now, just because of how everything is. So I guess no to that direct question.
Okay, and then. WNBA players, should they be paid the same as NBA players?
No, that's literally the exact same standpoint I have. Okay. Like, it's just not
And then what
possible.
about
I think they deserve to be, but I know the fan base isn't fully there yet, because I think it depends a lot on like viewers, fans, like how much money they bring in, selling tickets for games, like merchandise, brand deals, things like that.
All right. Okay. Going to the gender wage gap then, what do you guys think that there is one? What do you guys think that is?
I only know that there is one because I have seen those studies. Yeah, literally. Oh, okay. And it was ages ago. So like I am not one to speak on facts.
Okay. Andrew, you want to quickly do a quick thing on the wage gap?
Well, yeah, I mean, we can dive into it. So the idea here that it's essentially just that for the same work, women should be paid the same as a man. The problem is that when we start actually running studies on this and we start kind of diving into it, we recognize very quickly that there's some offsets that don't really make a lot of sense. For instance, maternity leave and risk association. So if you were to think that you are in charge of a business and you have to hire an employee, you can find a male and a female, and they're perhaps both equally qualified. But the woman will want to offset for family time, and will want to offset more for pregnancies and things like this. Makes them a bit of a higher risk, which brings their negotiating power down. Really doesn't have anything to do with sexism. It seems to mostly only have to do with the fact that there's a risk association which occurs with this. And so it's just negotiating leverage.
Also, really quick, who here wants this?
You don't think? I don't know. Chair one looks like she wants to disagree. I have no brute facts at my hands that you do not have.
I worked in HR and I just saw a lot of things about exactly what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. And like there's studies in other countries that prove that whenever you give the same amount of paternity leave as maternity leave, that like morale and production rates go up. And so like if you look at it that way, if we had it equal, then wouldn't you have the same risk?
Well, in those countries, in those same countries, they create uniformity laws. So what they do is they say, you simply can't pay a distinct wage. But if left to their own devices, they will pay a distinct wage. But the question is not whether or not they pay this wage based on the fact that they're being sexist, but based on the fact that they're doing a basic risk assessment. So if one sex is more riskier than the other sex to employ, why wouldn't you, as the employer, opt for the sex that had less risk? That's what I don't understand.
Like you said, you have more facts than me.
I don't. No. I have no different facts than you.
Oh, I thought you said you did. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I have no different facts than you have. I'm just looking at it from the standpoint of logical assessment. So in this case, I'm just going to grant that it exists. I'm just going to grant. I'm not even going to crunch the numbers. I'm not going to do the math. Right? Many people have done it. It's highly contested, but I don't even think we need to. If you're just looking at it from an employer basis, why wouldn't you take into account risk assessment when it came to hiring men versus women? That seems totally reasonable to me.
I mean, if you're only looking at that risk, then sure. And I know that this can go further and further and further, and so I was just trying to avoid that. But like, there's plenty of other risk factors that I'm sure you could look at that I don't have the facts on, so I'm not one to be argumentative about it.
Okay.
Final question on this, on the wage gap thing. Who here wants a guy to pay for the first date? Show of hands. Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I mean, so you want the man to pay for the first date? Maybe just scoot into the table a little bit if you can. I'm going to get it off that angle. There's a lot of reasons. Well, one, the wage gap doesn't really exist when you control for all factors. It shrinks down to something like 99 cents to the dollar, as opposed to the uncontrolled gender wage gap, which doesn't factor in for time, hours worked, location, seniority, type of job, overtime hours worked, these sorts of things. But when it comes to this, couldn't you just argue, like putting all those other things aside, couldn't you just argue, well, okay, let's say 50% of women want men to pay for the first date. Wouldn't this create like enough of a mating and social pressure on men that doesn't exist in women in terms of a motivating factor, that because of this, men just are more motivated and they work harder because of the pressure that women put on men?
I don't even know.
I personally wouldn't. I normally have like a way of, I will let a guy pay for the like meal if he insists on it, but I normally always pay for my own because that's only because for like.
Sure. And in addition to that, even though some of the girls didn't say like, oh, I want a guy to pay for the first date, probably I would argue, those of you who, even if you didn't raise your hand, even if you don't want it, you still have the experience of having men pay for the first date anyway. Would that be the case for you?
Yeah, because I always suggest like no, because I don't know if there's gonna be a second date, so I don't see why you should be wasting your money on me type shit. So I normally always pay for my own things, but some men insist on it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right. So it occurs to me that there's a good probability, even if only like 50% of women, I think it's more, but even if only 50% of women want a man who's a provider, want a man to pay for first dates or subsequent dates, that this is going to create a pressure on men that you don't see this pressure being equally applied to women or even at all applied to women. I for example, I've never gone on a date with a woman with the expectation that she pays the entire bill, but there are plenty of women who go on dates with the expectation that the entire bill be paid for them. And so for this reason, I think just this alone would actually just explain the way the gender wage gap. Men are just simply more motivated by women's own pressure on men to be providers and to pay for dates. Moving things on, going over to Laura, you said you disagree that men are the primary victims of war.
I really didn't understand that question, but I think obviously if there's war, everyone's a victim of it.
Yeah, everybody's a victim, but like there could be primary, secondary victims. Like for example, how about this? Do I want to use an extreme example? Like, okay, let's say there's a war and it's just men fighting and 100,000 men die and like the economy sucks for the women and the children and then the men who aren't fighting. Who's the primary victim of war?
I still think just everybody.
Still the women, even though no women died and 100,000 men died? And
yeah,
like
because now what are they going to... I mean, I'm not one that's like, what are we going to do without men? But
okay,
like,
sure.
you know, it's
right.
It would affect the families.
Okay. Yeah, okay, so like a woman who gets SA'd and she has male family members, is she the primary victim of the SA, or is like everybody equally a victim because the male family members are very upset about her being SA'd and feel really bad about it?
Oh, she is. She would be. The girl would be.
Okay,
Yeah.
and what about like a woman who's, I don't know if this would make her a victim, but in terms of measuring suffering, how about like a woman who's pregnant and she's going through the pains of pregnancy, and when she's giving birth, there's like, she's not a victim, but she's perhaps suffering physically. Her husband is there seeing her suffer. Is the suffering equal?
No, definitely not.
Okay. So like, is dying worse than, so when bringing it back to war, would you say dying is probably worse than like, I'm sure it's very traumatic to like lose a loved one or something in the war and like have the economy fucked, having to rebuild the country or whatever.
And living with it as well.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay.
no, definitely,
Sure.
definitely losing your life is more intense and
Sure.
like.
Yeah, with that question, I literally thought about like people, like
I thought about drafting.
like men coming back with PTSD and stuff
Yeah.
like that. That's what I thought of.
Oh, okay.
But now we have women that fight in war, so
Not as many though.
Not really.
Yeah.
Yeah, not really.
They're not really ever in combat.
Yeah, very, very rare.
I have three of my sisters are in the army.
And
so
all three of your sisters were never in combat. So
one of them were.
no, none of them were.
One's in, yeah.
No, none.
Say it like you say it, talk about it like you know me.
Yeah, no, it's not about knowing you. It's about knowing how it works. And no, they don't send women into frontline combat. It doesn't happen.
No, I don't know what she does, but as obviously the front line is a place with people that actually know what they have been doing it for way longer. That's your front
It's a
line.
place that they send male soldiers because they're the only ones who are allowed to fight in frontline combat. That's it. Like it's not a dunk on you. It's not even.
You're just talking now.
Oh,
It's not even resistance to your position. I'm sure that you have three sisters, and all three of them are the bravest military personnel who've ever existed, but they're not in
You're
frontline
literally talking
combat.
to yourself.
What's that? I didn't hear you.
You're talking to yourself now.
Or you just shut down? You can't engage? It's too much for you? Was it too much for me to say that your sisters weren't at the front lines with machine guns gunning down the Soviets? Like that was too much for you? That was too much? Your sisters weren't ninjaing up the enemy? They didn't crawl through the trenches with a dagger in their teeth and take them down?
It was a dirk.
That was too much.
It was
for
a
you,
dirk,
wasn't it?
Andrew.
That's how I
That
know
was
you're.
just way over the top of
That's how I
Andrew
know
Wilson
your
to
dick
tell
is
you
small because
that
you have to make up for your
all
personality.
aren't in frontline
That's how I
fucking
literally
combat.
know.
Wait.
It's ridiculous.
That's how I
Wait,
literally
hold on,
know.
Andrew. I want you to. Can you say it one more time? Because
No,
come on.
fine. I said I know your dick is small simply because you're trying to make it up for your personality.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's as small as your chest.
You're so
is.
loud, dude. You're so
Hey,
loud.
As small as your chest
loud.
is
You're trying to
flat.
Hey, Andrew.
She has nice boobs.
He's over
Andrew.
here staring at my boobs.
Where?
Andrew.
Everybody's boobs.
Excuse you.
I felt that.
There.
She said, I see them all.
Excuse you, Andrew.
That's where
Excuse
they
you.
are. The nice ones. The ones that she's actually in the room with me and actually can look at them.
Excuse you, Andrew. How dare you? attack the itty bitty titty committee member.
Again.
I am upset.
He's offended, actually.
In solidarity, I'm a fucking ally, bro.
My feelings have been hurt.
Fucking Andrew. Unbelievable. Unbelievable, Andrew. Can't believe. Also, I don't think it's very nice, though, to make fun of people with small penises.
And it's not nice to make funs of people with small titties. So we're even.
You started it.
You started it. Oh, well.
No, I didn't. I finished it. Thank you.
Hey, did? You started it.
No, I didn't. I didn't start anything. No, I didn't start anything. I think you're tripping.
You're tripping, Andrew.
Calm down.
Oh, I'm tripping?
He's tripping.
Calm down.
What quantifies a small penis for those of us that don't know?
What do you think? What
Sorry.
Do you think?
Well, I can tell you what.
No, just like no, not like you don't have to. I meant like this. Never mind.
What? How many inches is a
Here,
small?
tell me when to stop.
What do you mean?
Tell me when to stop.
I think she literally wants to know, like,
Small is 5 and under.
My fingers. So
Tell me
like,
when to stop.
Stop.
Small is 5 and under.
Stop.
What?
Yeah.
6.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah. 6 even.
That's
Okay.
okay.
5 and under.
How dare you talk about Andrew's penis?
Oh my God.
That
I'm
is so rude. That is,
I am so ashamed. Oh my God, Andrew, I'm so
You know what?
sorry.
I want you to apologize. to
I
Andrew.
just
I want you to say
apologize.
sorry.
Oh my gosh, I'm so
I
sorry,
think Andrew needs an
Andrew.
apology.
Accepted.
That's beautiful. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Why can't we all be friends here? I like that. All right, it's good. It's an apology. Thank you. I appreciate that, Darkavia.
And it was so sincere.
There you go.
heard it.
I
It was
believe
very
You heard it? You
I
heard it
the
in there?
sincerity.
It was very
Felt it in my
was
little
the most
heart.
sincere.
It's very, moving.
It was in no way dripping with venom.
No way. No way.
No way it's true.
No way.
No way.
You know what though? We got to start making fun of women like, oh, this biatch must have had a cavernous vagina.
What does that mean?
I love that
Cavern?
that's
Do
the first
know what
thing
a
you came up
cavern-
with.
Do you know what a cavern?
Open.
A cavern?
Gosh.
Have you ever been in a cavern?
It's
Like a cave,
Oh, I thought it
but
was
bigger than a cave. A cavern, bruv.
Bruv.
So what would a cavernless?
I just feel like that was the
vagina
first thing
be?
that, that's the first thing that flew into your
Like
head.
it doesn't have a
Look,
hole.
I'm egalitarian.
Like it's cavern. It's like a tunnel.
Cavernous.
Yeah.
Look, I'm just saying,
usually
y'all,
get
y'all be
Like a
talking
tic tac, like a tic tac down a hallway.
A tick.
like a hot dog down a like a yeah.
That's the one problem I've
Wait,
never
what?
had.
I'm
Hold
so
on,
lost.
but I'm just saying, like, I don't know. These girls be talking about big dick energy, small dick energy. You got a small dick, you got shrimp dick, whatever. Maybe what I think we gotta start, Andrew. We gotta start saying like, if we're ever disagreeing with a chick, we gotta be like, bro, you just got a cavernous vagina. Man, we've been disagreeing all night.
Mike.
This is huge pussy. Not the Audi like.
I was gonna say, didn't you say that was like what you preferred? Anyways,
No, Audis can be very. No, hold on. There's difference. Difference. Okay.
Okay.
Difference.
No, I know.
Okay.
Yeah, I got you.
If you
I hear
love
ya.
someone, why would the size of the penis matter? That's what I want to know. If you love some, if you
You got to be able to be satisfied by the person you're
Honestly,
with.
but
You can have toys, or else you're gonna
care
leave.
about them.
Yeah, like honestly. Yeah, she's right.
Word.
I
That's
could be with
beautiful.
someone that
That's
has a
beautiful.
small penis.
That is so beautiful.
I could
I
not.
could too. I could.
beautiful.
I really could.
I would end up cheating.
If I really cared
That
about
is
them, I could
so
definitely do
beautiful.
it.
That increases your chances a little bit because he's a millionaire black autist, but small PP, micro peen. I think
Have
it's
at it.
improved a little
As
bit.
long as we have good conversation,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
it's okay.
It's all right. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Dude, I love that.
I'm gonna,
I
think the
love
same.
it.
I don't really have anything but my fingers to compare it to, so as long as it's bigger
okay.
than
Pump
this.
the brakes there.
Pump
okay.
the brakes.
Pump the
on
brakes.
that.
Oh, here we go.
Big Sass Energy
Oh,
donated
shit.
$200. Loose puppy energy.
Oh, he meant to say loose. It changes it now. Big Sass Energy. Loose P word energy. Loose pussy energy. Oh, I just said
No one needed to
Who
bring
has
puppies
it?
into this.
I
That's-
Who has that?
loose puppy energy. Streamlabs automatically changes bad words now to other words, I guess.
Do they know before they send it?
What do you
Probably
mean?
not, huh? Like, does it autocorrect before, or just like when it pops up?
When it pops up, yeah, they send it in and
They
gets,
don't even know what the autocorrect is. That's
goes
great.
through the bamboozle.
Fantastic.
Going to the next thing, Nikki. You disagree. So the statement is, women are not oppressed in the United States. You disagree.
Okay. Let me start off by saying that I did not answer this right because honestly, I don't even really know what oppressed means.
That's okay. Here, you know what I want though? Because you don't know the definition of a word, you need to read a page, any page. I want you to just randomly. Here,
I'm a stutterer.
Fudge. Cornelius Fudge.
Okay.
You're gonna read this. Okay, read that book from Harry Potter. She's reading Harry Potter.
I'm gonna embarrass myself. I stutter really bad.
Can you kind of like hold it up so
You
we
could
can,
do it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you got it.
Wait, this one's shorter.
Cornelius Fudge. Did it get fucked?
Can I do this one?
No, you gotta do.
You did say any page.
Nope, it's that page.
That's
Cornelius Fudge. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm also a little cracked out from the monster book.
Quiet, guys. Quiet. Be polite. Be polite.
Harry, Ron, and Hermione had always known that Hagrid had an unfortunate liking for large and monstrous creatures. Me too. During their first year at Hogwarts, he tried to raise a dragon in his little wooden house, and it wouldn't be long before they forgot the giant three-headed he'd christened Fluffy. As if boy Hagrid had heard that a monster was hiding somewhere in the castle. Harry was sure he'd have gone to any lengths for a glimpse of it. He'd probably thought it was a shame that the monster had been cooped up so long and thought it deserved the chance to stretch its many legs. Harry could just imagine the 13-year-old Hagrid trying to fit a leash and collar on it, but he was equally certain that Hagrid would never have meant to kill anybody. Harry half wished he hadn't found out how to work Riddle's diary. Again and again, Ron and Hermione made him recount. That was the best I'd ever done.
She did that.
All right, I'll take it back. Thank you very much. Really good job. That was fantastic. Well done. I don't know. Okay, so disagree though. You disagree women are not oppressed in the USA. Riri, you also disagreed. And then that's all for the disagreements. Why do you disagree?
Okay, can you tell me what it means again? Because that might make me change my answer. Because I really don't know what it means.
So I'll Google it just to make sure that we give you the best definition.
I need to go back to school.
Oppression is the unjust or cruel use of power or authority, especially by imposing burdens on a group of people. Also, malicious or unjust treatment of or exercise of power over a group of individuals, often in the form of government authority. Yeah. Is that helpful or not really?
No. Can I have an example?
An example of oppression. You know what? I'll just Google example of oppression.
Because it probably made me change my answer. I really didn't know what I was reading.
Can I get it in a sentence?
So I think slavery would be an example of oppression.
Oh, okay.
Denial, religious persecution. Like Andrew over here.
Use it as an adjective.
Yes. Let's see.
I oppressed my wife when I made her cook my dinner.
Oppressed.
Like he forced her to?
W oppression of Rachel Wilson in the chat. W oppression.
There's not as much oppression as I'd like around.
Yeah,
here.
you need to press.
I got to step it up.
Those are rookie numbers, Andrew. Step it up.
Say whatever you want to say. It's okay.
Another example is like, you know how they have in the, I don't want to be wrong with the location, but the Middle East, you know, when the women have to be completely covered. That's like an example of oppression.
Oh, okay. Okay. So then we're
I don't think we are.
Yeah. Okay. No.
We are not oppressed in America.
Yeah.
My family's from a third world
disagree?
country. We're not oppressed here.
I totally agree that the oppression is nowhere near how it is, and I don't believe that all women are necessarily oppressed depending on how they live, what they're doing. But I do think that in a lot of circumstances, when it comes to things like medical oppression, where women are less likely to get appropriate treatment, and the rates that Black women die giving birth, things like that, I do believe are oppression because we just kind of ignore them and brush them under the rug.
Aren't women more likely to go to the doctor?
And
they're more likely
to get
less likely to get
proper treatment or proper diagnosis.
Andrew, do you have anything on this?
Well, that one I could give facts on.
Give me the facts.
No, that was it. I was just joking that I was in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
It was just a shitty joke.
Yeah.
But legitimately,
I
that
thought
is
you
true.
said you were going to give me facts on the idea of medical care being oppressive towards women.
Yeah.
I totally did, but it was.
Can I provide one counter example to you? So I think that, I don't know if this is a great argument, but So men are much more likely to be scientifically experimented on consensually, but like this would indicate to me that like men are so desperate for money, they're much more willing than women, for example, to like take experimental drugs, experimental treatments, and to be compensated for money. I think that this would be perhaps a counterexample that, at least in the medical field, why is it like more? Well, there's a greater proportion of men who are medically experimented on than women. I think if it was the reverse, there would be uproar like, oh my God, why are we like using women as guinea pigs for medical experimentation?
But she used birth as an example.
Wait, what?
She just used giving birth as an example.
Black women. She's talking about
in all first world countries, especially in the United States, this is a phenomenon which has been happening, where the maternal death rate has climbed due to birth. But the reason for this is because of age. Women are giving birth later in life, in their 30s now. And so this has contributed to the idea that, hey, women suffer greatly under some type of medical malpractice, which is associated with them specifically because now they're dying in childbirth in higher numbers than they did even 20 or 30 years ago. But it's just because of the age of the women. They're just getting older. They're literally giving birth older, and so they have more complications.
And as you age, your liver gets worse, and we still do research to figure out how to give an older person a liver. So why is birth different?
Wait, also, I don't know.
Well, because you can only do so many contributing factors towards the science of a thing. It's one thing to make the claim, well, are we stopping the science of trying to figure out how to make these births happen in an easier and safer way for women? And the answer is no. But if you just say, well, because it's happening, there's some sort of medical oppression towards them, that's just silly. Nobody's ever no country basically ever has dealt with an aging female population which is giving birth in their 30s on average. That's never really happened in history. Mm-hmm. Most women have given birth traditionally in their 20s.
And when you take birth out of it, then what about things like doctors refusing to give women testing based on symptoms that they tell them, or, primarily diagnosing women with some form of hysteria or mental illness before even doing any form of testing and writing that off as okay versus men?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, you have a sampling bias here. You have a lot more women who will go to the doctor before they'll go to a psychologist in order to get a reference to a psychologist.
Which I recognize. I'm referring to the ratio.
Yeah, well, per capita, this is not correct. So per capita, men are misdiagnosed just as much as women are. There's no doubt about it. They even come in with very different symptoms than women have because the physiology is different. Per capita misdiagnosis is it's just as bad. I do admit that more women are misdiagnosed than men, but that's because there's a sampling bias and there's a lot more women who go to get treatment than men for various issues. But per capita, no.
Well, I hear what you're saying, and I cannot give you like a direct link. Everything that I've seen that was research-based was ratio-based, percentage-based, percentage of women that go in versus percentage of men that go in, and the refusal of, getting testing before you even get a misdiagnosis is what I'm referring to. Mental health diagnosis.
The same thing happens. The same thing happens to men for all sorts of various chronic issues that they have too. It's just,
I'm not saying that doesn't happen. I'm just saying
sampling of misdiagnoses.
Yeah, I was misdiagnosed as a psychopath when I just had alexithymia. So I think it is true. I think women are more misdiagnosed
You were never
than
diagnosed
men.
as a psychopath.
Well, ASPD. I was diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder, and that was a misdiagnosis. And I think if I was a man,
misdiagnoses in the medical community is very common, especially in psychology, because psychology, there is no physical ailment which can be pointed to, only behavioral ailments. That's it. So because that's the case, the way that we would associate whether somebody is suffering from mental illness would be a deviation from what we would consider typical behavior. So we can't look at physical problems to do most diagnoses.
Okay.
There's just no way to do it. You just sample it off of the pool size and say, okay, if this is non-typical behavior in society, that's how you associate what is mental illness and what isn't. There's really no other way to do it. It's a soft science for that reason.
If someone presented like data to you that proved the other way, would you believe it?
Of course. If there was significant data that you could show that the methodology and the soft sciences, which suffer, by the way, heavily from the replication crisis, meaning that most of these studies, most, by the way, not some, upwards in psychology of 60% plus, in some cases in Canadian psychology, it's been estimated as high as 70%, cannot be replicated, these studies, even with the same exact groups. So they'll get the same doctors, same focal group, same everything, and they cannot replicate these studies. This is known as the replication crisis. For soft science, this is a big, big problem. Hard sciences don't suffer from this because of controls. So we were talking about, you and I were discussing controls earlier. When you're talking about controls in psychology, it's almost impossible because all you're doing is taking non-typical behavior and trying to group it as being something which can be a predictive model, and it's almost impossible to do. So this is why they're just like, well, maybe your brain chemistry is off, and they basically experiment on you. There's no real way to do it other than that. They could take this pill, let's see if this makes you feel a little bit better. How do you feel now? There's really no great way to just talk to you for a few minutes and go, okay, you have A, B, C, and D. There's just no way to do that.
So going back to this, when it comes to women being oppressed, you cited to like this treatment when it comes to medicine. Although it did occur to me that when it comes to like this differential treatment, when it comes to healthcare, men on average die 5 years earlier than women.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a massive gap. I mean, and that's probably like health related. I mean, it could be like risk related too. Like men take more risks. Like they maybe, I don't know.
Or don't go in, like you were saying.
Men suffer in silence. I've heard things that you wouldn't believe. Like men, there's a lot of young men that are addicted to pornography, that want a girlfriend, and it's like it's so crazy. And they work a 9 to 5, and they don't tell anybody how they feel. They only tell a therapist or a mental health person, and like. I don't understand, like, how is it that people are not worried about this? Because men in their 30s and 40s, 20s, 30s, and 40s, they want things that they don't think they'll ever get, and they're angry. And, like, I've had dudes tell me that they think about essaying women, and then they're like, but I'm not going to do that because I'm a good guy. But then, like, they live alone. When they come home from work, they play video games, they watch pornography, and then they have to like deal with the reality that like they're not where they feel like being in life. Like men are really like suffering, and the only reason I know is because of my job. And I don't know, like I feel like the government should be like more worried, because if like the internet cuts out, like these dudes are gonna like go out and like do some really crazy stuff. Maybe.
Right.
I don't know.
All right.
I don't know, because the stuff I hear is like crazy.
Yeah. Going back to this though, you did say that women are oppressed. Do you think you're oppressed?
I don't think that I necessarily experience oppression in the same way. I think I do think about things that other people might not necessarily see as oppression, like how the cost for like a prostate cancer exam. Oh.
Why are you guys laughing?
If the internet cuts out,
They're screwed. They're screwed. If the internet goes out, they're screwed, bro.
Okay.
Like, the world is coming to an end.
Feral.
it's like the Adderall shortage, you know?
Oh yeah. Okay. All right. So women, are you oppressed?
Yeah, I don't think I necessarily experience
Okay.
it directly.
Okay.
Yeah.
But women are oppressed in the USA.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't believe that all women in the U.S. experience oppression, but I do believe that.
And there's like the medical thing, and then it was, give me like the two other things I think you said.
I think that medically is really the biggest thing.
That's the big one? Okay.
Yeah, for
All
me.
right. All right, I'm going to move on then. Let's see. We've got women have equal rights to men in the USA. Allie, you disagreed.
Say it again. I'm so sorry. I was zoned out.
Women have equal rights to men in the USA. You disagree with this statement?
Oh, no. Then I just read it wrong. Sorry.
Oh, my. Come on. You just don't want to argue about it.
No, legitimately. I've argued plenty of things. I think you understand that I can argue a
So
point.
you think then that women do have equal rights in the United States?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Jay, you disagreed, though. You think women do not have equal rights in the United States. Why is that?
I think, as we saw in the like reproductive rights, that's the biggest one.
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest one. I mean, I'm lucky that living here in Los Angeles, it doesn't affect me too much. But I grew up in a red state, and like I know how it is. Like in certain places,
Equal
it's
rights.
a lot worse.
Yeah. Anything else besides that? Besides the abortion stuff?
I mean, that's the biggest one.
Well, what's the smaller one?
I'd say I can't really. That's the main one that I'm aware of. I can't really think of any more.
But I mean, main one would seem to imply that there are other ways in which women don't have equal rights to men in the USA. Are there any more? Or is that the only one
That's the only one I guess I really
that you can think
about.
Yeah. Well, so the prompt is women have equal rights to men in the United States. Given that men don't have any reproductive rights, would it be safe to say that actually women have more rights when it comes to reproduction? And in fact, moving closer to equality between men and women would seem to, it would either it would dictate that women, their right to an abortion is completely walked back entirely. Would that?
I mean, men can't get pregnant, so it's irrelevant to them.
Right, but like, so when we're talking about equal rights, that's a comparison of rights between men and women. So men need to have a certain right that a woman does not. Since men have no rights, like for example, a man can't compel a woman to get an abortion. It would seem to me that equality would dictate that we completely and entirely walk back women's access to abortion in order to get equality.
I think I'm a bit.
So are all these questions that you typed on here like all the ones you like?
What do you mean?
Like you agree to, or
what
like?
do you mean agree?
Like those questions?
Well, I mean everything I just said now when it came to abortion. That's not my position.
I think she's just asking if you wrote the questions, if you chose the questions.
Yeah, or is it based like
Sure,
based? Yeah.
I wrote these, and I do think that women have equal rights to men in the United States.
That's why I specifically didn't disagree with that, because I don't think when it comes to abortion, it's a matter of equal rights, because it doesn't affect men at all. So it's not, you can't really weigh it against anything. So it's not really a matter of equal rights.
That's kind of my perspective on it. It's like, it's not really like an example of like some sort of inequality between men and women, because it's like men can't get pregnant. So it's like,
there's nothing to compare it to for men. Like,
so and let's see, moving on, adult age gap relationships. A couple of you